Hello, good afternoon. No, good morning. I take that back. This is a video response to the government going on one of their latest rules in regards to pornography. I believe now that they're inflicting a new method, a new approach when using explicit sites in order to prevent access, or better yet usage, to the youths and also anybody else that chooses to use and abuse, their dopamine, that is. I believe the new method and new approach that you've taken is either adding charge fees, perhaps, to any said illicit site, or explicit site, might I add, or some form of age identification. Now, if the presence of God was truly within each and every one of you, and I know deep down within my heart and my mind it's not, can the presence be? Absolutely. If you're choosing to ban this sadistic system for what it really is, I believe wholeheartedly that they should permanently take down all explicit sites that cause nothing more than psychological impairment on behalf of the male species and the female species. It not only causes psychological impairment, but it also stunts people's growth and evolvement spiritually. And in some cases, it can also lead to spiritual and psychological dysfunction along with death. Now, if you take your relationship seriously with God and His Son Jesus Christ as much as I do, although more work is required, I'll give you that, you would start banning all degeneracy from all angles. I don't care what it is that you've created, or better yet, that the world has created. You would ban it without thinking twice. You would permanently cast all degenerative behaviours back within the fiery depths of hell, filled with molten rock and brimstone, along with the worldly creators behind them. And you would put back God's patriarchy. Think of it this way, guys. Who was it that built the system from scratch, from hand, spiritually, that is? It was God the Father, wasn't it not? Right, it was. Perfect. We agree with something. At least some of us do. And who is it that has the power to actually dismantle something of evil, to cause psychological and spiritual harm, and case in point, death, within many situations? Was guys, we have the power, control, and authority in dismantling this whole hierarchy for what it really is, until the great collapse happens and crashes the entire market. Now, the good thing is, and I say this is a good thing because it is technically and potentially a good thing, for everyone, that is, not just the select percentage of people within the House of Commons that think that they're high and almighty, or because, they have a bit of worldly status and worldly power, as you will. No, I'm referring to every single human species upon the face of the earth. A new system is actually, in fact, enforced to rewrite history biblical history, known to those that are spiritually aware to the truth, that adds to their growth and evolvement. And also a system that opens the eyes to those that don't really want to accept the truth for what it really is, because it hurts their feelings and emotions. In other words, they're not able to think logically, rationally. They operate on feeling and emotion, and this is why we have a huge collapse within human connection today, because human emotion and feelings are nothing more than masters of deception. And this is why I've learned to master the art of using any said fleeting feelings and emotions in order to develop emotional intelligence, emotional maturity. Now, if people can go down this path and take this route, I can guarantee any of you watching this video now, human connection 1 would last even a lot longer. 2, they're much more healthier, both psychologically and spiritually, that is. Of course, they're going to have, said problems and indifferences of beliefs, as you will, which, we could all work on, that is. And 3, if I've not already stated 2, human connection on a whole will actually mean so much more between people than human connection would via feelings and emotions. And this is what, a lot of people don't understand and don't get, because, like I said, they're trapped and enslaved within their worldly programmed emotions, along with feelings. It's the world that created feelings and emotions within man and woman. And what happens going on, how many times I've been around the block to see it for myself, as well as to be a part of it myself in the past. What happens when people reside within their feelings and emotions? It leads them to irrational behaviours, for one, that offer temporary hits of joy and fake happiness. And once the abuse of their dopamine wears off, they're back to square one, attempting to fill that void, even that emptiness that we all currently experience from time to time, failing miserably within the process. And this is what happens when people place false labels along with ideologies, indoctrinations, man-made religions, false beliefs upon themselves, thinking that they are said things when in actuality they never were and never have been. Because we are already paid for under the blood of Christ. Now, this is where so many get it twisted. They think, oh, well, if I'm under the blood of Christ, I can still choose to live in sin. I can still do these degenerative things and, get away with sin and all of this nonsense. Well, that's not what the gospel actually says now, is it? People laugh and joke about it now, thinking, that they're actually pulling the wool over God's eyes, when in actuality, in reality, they never were and never have been. Because God is omnipresent via the Holy Spirit. He sees everything, and not one bad deed goes left unpunished. Not one good deed goes left rewarded / blessed. And this is why I tend to lean from the New Testament and the Old Testament, leaning more upon the Old Testament than the New Testament, because the New Testament offers unlimited forgiveness, unlimited grace, mercy, and all of these things. And people trample these said gifts, these said blessings, by choosing to live within sin, which not only grieves the Holy Spirit even, but it destroys their relationship with God and His Son, Jesus Christ. This is why I tend to lean more over to the Old Testament, which was about vengeance, wrath, authority, power, control. And assuming, of course, people are actually, in fact, in His good books, love, forgiveness, grace, and mercy, and all of these other beautiful fruits that we want, but yet have the audacity to trample with the way that we think, the way that we live. Because our thoughts are not of our thoughts. Which is why it's extremely important and vital to hold them captive and place them upon the throne of God. Therefore, when it's our time to face the great judgment after death, He will get to explain everything of His gospel word and the way that He operates, the way that He created the earth originally. From nothing. He will explain all of this. Now, assuming of course your name's in the book of life and not the book of death, determines our fate after we die. Whether it be cast within the lake of fire filled with molten rock and brimstone, or whether it be an eternity within the New Jerusalem, heaven, as I'd like to call it. Because I can guarantee any of you watching this video, on Judgment Day, there's going to be a lot of people regretting everything that they've ever said and done. And that regret isn't going to change the fact that God has the final say as to where you go after the judgment. Because it was God that created the heavens and the earth. He made both man and woman. And originally, the patriarchy system, the Christian system, and so many people get this twisted too. They think, oh, well, because I'm a good person or I'm a nice person, I'm going to go to heaven. Yeah, alright then. Nice try. You're in for one rude awakening on Judgment Day, when God actually says unto you, depart from me, those that work in iniquity, for I never knew you. No amount of good works, blessings, and all of these things that you think are of God I'm going to get you into the New Jerusalem, heaven. Because all along, while people thought they were genuinely of God, they were self-righteous, filthy, ragged works. For nothing more than gratification, needs of their own. So before I wrap this video up, like I said, if some of the government officials, like I said, are seeking after the truth, the real truth, and the real meaning of life, then you will take heed unto my voice and permanently ban all degenerative behaviours, whether you're comfortable doing it or whether you're not. That's beside the point. And those of you that are willing to lay down your lives by doing this, you will be rewarded greatly for your efforts. God is true to his word. Oh, you best believe. it's a wrap.